say it with flowers. Roman hummed to himself as he made the next order. He didn't like working at a coffee shop, but until his preferred career as an actor took off, he'd need to pay rent. He was in a pretty bad mood, honestly. Not that the rest of the world would be able to tell. Again, he was an actor. He could fool the masses into thinking there was nowhere else he'd rather be. And the way the clients left in a better mood than they came in after he handed them a coffee and his trademark charm showed that he was indeed quite successful. Back to his bad mood, though. His day had gone terrible. His alarm broke, which meant he had to rush. He was out of coffee. He didn't have access to hot water this morning. He got soaked by the rain. His one ray of light was his regular stop at the flower shop across the street, and due to the rain and being in a hurry, he couldn't even properly enjoy that. He rarely had time to go in, but normally he could at least take a minute to admire the window display. The owners always made it a true piece of art, and this week he'd been treated to a gorgeous collage of reds and whites for the holidays, with at the center of it a piece with a black lily as its central focus. He didn't know why, but something about the elegant but dark flowers surrounded by these vibrant colors took his breath away. Naturally, black flowers were surprisingly gorgeous in his opinion, but today he'd only been able to cast a quick glance, knowing that the display would be changed by the evening, as it always was on Sunday, so they'd have something fresh for the new week. Still, even though he didn't have time to get his caffeine fix, didn't get to take his time to feel inspired by the simple beauty or smell the flowers, he was smiling at his customers, humming holiday songs he was not in the mood for, and doing his best to look good while he made the drinks despite everything. And then he came in. Ready for this, Princey? Virgil Collins, an old schoolmate and current employee of Roman's daily haven of beauty, grinned as he walked up to his line. He always ordered his drink from him, and he never ordered something simple. Usually Roman didn't mind too much. He enjoyed the challenge. He was pretty sure Virgil was looking for a request Roman wouldn't be able to handle, and Roman was incredibly proud of himself when he managed to do so anyway. Plus, when he pulled it off, he got a 50% tip, which was a very nice bonus to have considering he came by every day. At least every day Roman was working. He wouldn't know about his days off. Today, though, he wasn't sure if he had the energy for the usual back and forth that came with it. Roman first met Virgil while rehearsing for their high school play freshman year. Virgil was on the tech crew, and Roman had been a bit eager to get started and bumped into him in his rush. Virgil was rude, Roman wasn't having it, and so 4 years of snarky comments and a strange rivalry started. They weren't exactly in the position to compete in any of their activities or classes, but still every time they were in a room together, Virgil antagonized him, and Roman felt the insatiable need to show how good he really was. If not for the fact that he saw his face nearly every day now, he might have given up on acting by now. But the idea of one day giving this guy his last coffee and telling him that he got picked up for something big, it would be golden. What are you tormenting me with today, Scrooge? He huffed, kind of relieved that he could be a bit narking with this customer. His colleagues and boss knew by now that Virgil was not going to stop coming in to antagonize him if Roman gave back as good as he got. Virgil looked around and hummed to himself. You know, I'm feeling festive. Why don't you give me Nightmare Before Christmas? He grinned. Roman nodded and turned around to make the cryptic order, his mind going through the ingredient list to try and come up with something. A hot chocolate seemed obvious. Dark chocolate, though. Nice and bitter, with foamed milk, and a candy cane as an edible stirrer. He frowned. This was too simple. He could do better. He picked up the cinnamon and one of the molds from Halloween. He kept them around cause Virgil was very into it, and when in doubt, add something spooky was a safe bet. He picked out a spider. Before he added the figure to the top, he grinned to himself as he gave it a quick pump of espresso to give it an extra kick. There you go, he announced with a grin, pretty satisfied with what he accomplished. Apparently, inspiration had come despite everything making him feel like the muse would abandon him today. Virgil inspected his drink, chuckled, and took a sip. Hmm, dark and bitter, with a sweet, homey twist, he mused. Then he glanced up, his eyes still playful, but softer than Roman was used to. Perfect as always, charming. And then he put down some bills and turned. Keep the change, he called back. Roman looked down and saw that what he'd received was easily a 100% tip. And an envelope? He put away the cash owed and added the tip to his tip jar, a bit confused and wishing he hadn't taken his break. Virgil apparently having gotten a visit of the spirits of Christmas last night, or something, and saying something nice without a hint of sarcasm or any added snarky remark was enough to lift his mood somewhat. Guess the guy wasn't kidding when he said he was in a festive mood. A few hours later he finished his shift and opened the envelope before heading home, wondering if it contained some kind of surprise sexist comment. Maybe that was why he was so nice. Some kind of long game prank? It wasn't though. It was a letter, and more importantly, a dried black lily. His eyes scanned over the letter. It was written in a nice, elegant script. The purest of flowers, but black as the night. Few would think it a lovely sight. Then there is you, shining ever so bright, drawn to its splendor, moved by its plight. And for you it shall endure, the balance just right. Keep shining, happy holidays. With a racing heart, Roman tucked the flower back in the envelope and carefully placed the envelope in his lunchbox in his messenger bag so it wouldn't get damaged. Then he ran out of the shop across the street, bursting through the doors of the flower shop looking for the emo. Can I help you? The shop owner, a nice elderly African American man, wondered. I must speak with your employee. Virgil Collins? Roman demanded. The man chuckled. Oh, I see. Virgil! The owner called to the back. Billy is here. Roman frowned. I am not Billy. Was he being confused for someone else? Perhaps a boy Virgil had a crush on? He knew Virgil was bi. They'd both been part of the Pride Club in high school, and credit where credit was due, Virgil took the whole stand with one another motto to heart. If one of them needed someone to walk home with or anything to feel safer, he was often first in line, even when Roman knew he had other things to do. He couldn't really think more about it, though, since Virgil came rushing through the door, a little pale in the face. Back in school that was normal, but Virgil didn't wear that much foundation anymore these days. Um, hi, was there a problem with the tip or something? He asked nervously after glaring his boss to the back room. Woman frowned. He remembered Virgil sometimes spiraling around finals. He'd watched the tech crew talk him through a panic attack before performances a few times. It had made him feel a bit for the guy. Then he said something snarky, and that feeling was reduced considerably. Point is, he knew Virgil was prone to worrying, but tipping him on her? Even if there was, you always tip way more than any customer I've ever served. No, this, he said as he put down the note. Who wrote this? He asked earnestly. Virgil frowned and looked down, his eyes widening. It isn't signed, he muttered. If it was, I might have an ID and I wouldn't be asking, the woman pointed out impatiently. Virgil frowned and bit his lip. Well, maybe they don't want you to know. Can't it just be a nice thing one person did for another? Woman frowned. They gifted me a flower I've been admiring all week and lifted my heart when it felt heavy. Virgil, please. They might be my soulmates, he insisted. Virgil's eyes widened and his cheeks reddened for a second before he sighed and shook his head, slowly going back to his snarky self. Calm your jets, Romeo. I pressed that flower for someone who did see you stare at it, yes. But I'm pretty sure it was just a random act of kindness kind of thing. Now, if I had to add something to it like a gardenia or there was a fern drawn in the margin, then I'd maybe be convinced, but wait, why those? Roman asked curiously. Virgil blinked. Well, gardenia means secret love, and fern too, essentially. So, yeah, if they wanted to imply romantic feeling. Look, I'll see what I can do. But I'm no snitch, got it? Woman nodded, more fascinated by the new information. You know flower language? He asked. Virgil's body language got defensive. I'm writing a thesis about nonverbal communication, and I added a bit about coded messaging like flower and pen language through the ages, cause, you know what? Never mind, you shouldn't care anyway. Roman did though. What are you studying? He asked. Virgil sighed. I'm studying psychology. I couldn't afford uni, and I refused to get a dumb loan even if they would approve me for one. I can get everything I need to get my license. My boss got me in contact with a cool therapist who is willing to help me where needed. I'm getting there. I've been taking the finals and my grades are good. Winter is pretty stoked about how my thesis is looking. Roman had to admit that he never really stopped to think what Virgil was doing with his life these days. Your parents must be proud, he said sincerely. His parents were a bit nervous about Roman putting all his money on art. To reassure them, he got a minor in journalism. Yeah, listen, I gotta go back to work. See you tomorrow, or something, Virgil muttered dismissively. Roman got a hint. Virgil was never a social butterfly. When he woke up the next day, he realized he didn't check out the new display, so he left earlier so he could really take his time. The new display was lovely too. It was delicate and detailed. White stars dotted the purple sky. For the first time, though, he looked up from the display and saw Virgil tending to the flowers in the shop, his body moving to the tones of whatever song was playing in his headphones. When he turned and locked eyes with him, he froze. Roman smiled and waved. Virgil hesitated, but gave him a wave as well before continuing with working. A few hours into the shift, Virgil showed up. Hit me, Scarecrow. I'm feeling it today, he grinned. Virgil chuckled and slid over a new envelope. Well then, I want to taste how you are feeling, he said. That's so gay. Roman chuckled before turning around and starting on the order. How was he feeling? Excited? Hopeful? Nervous? His mysterious poets had written again. Were they as secret admirer as he hoped? Had he finally reached the beginning of his romance? He made Virgil's order, just doing what felt right. A little fruity, that would be nice. Something gentle and sweet. There you go, he announced with a proud smile. Virgil took a sip and nodded. Okay, that is very nice, he agreed, as he glanced at the order total on his ticket and put down money. Don't bother with his change, he said, leaving his usual 50% tip. Thanks, and Roman waved the envelope. Will I need translation? He wondered. Maybe, Virgil shrugged playfully before leaving. When Roman entered the flower shop that evening, Virgil was waiting on him. Okay, let's see what you got, he sighed reluctantly. Roman hurried over to the counter excitedly and opened the envelope with care. That's aloe and angelica, Virgil supplied, referring to the dried red feather duster-like flower and the cluster of tiny white flowers that came in the envelope. Don't tell me what they mean yet. There's a pony in this one too. Roman grinned brightly. With fond delight I witness your dance. It brings me sadness when you stumble. I offer you a ray of beauty as I was given the chance, so I may once again partake in your joy, however humble. Woman didn't read it aloud, just in case it was private, but it was once again a true joy to read. It made him feel special. So, should I translate, or? Virgil asked. Oh, please do, Roman insisted. Virgil nodded. Okay, aloe means affection. So this person likes you, though it's perfectly possible that it's entirely platonic. Roman nodded. Okay, that was fair. And Angelica means inspiration. So you might inspire them, or they hope to be an inspiration to you, he offered. Which one do you think it is? Roman wondered. Virgil shrugged. Could be both. Certainly inspired them to give you flowers twice now, he pointed out. Roman chuckled. I did, didn't I? He mused. Well, if that's all, he said, it wasn't though. Wait, can I ask, why do you always tip so much? Roman asked. He'd been wondering that for a while. I didn't think you liked me, but you seem okay with me now, he explained. Virgil raised his brow. Not, Roman, are you serious? Sure, I thought you were a bit full of yourself freshman year, and I still think you are full of yourself. But it is earned. I've seen you put in the work, and you are freaking talented. I have mad respect for you. I could never pursue my art the way you do. Heck, I can't even share it with my closest friends, which currently are my boss and my mentor, by the way, he pointed out. Woman blinked. You really think I'm talented? He asked. Yeah, I've seen you play. But you know you are talented. You impress those snooty college professors enough that they are basically paying you to be their student, right? Woman never thought about it like that. Yeah, you're right. Who knew Virgil could be so cool? Hey, you are a Disney fan too, right? He asked suddenly. Yeah, Virgil said. Well, I'm starting to think we've been missing out on a beautiful friendship, and I'll feel guilty if you just keep playing Postboy Messenger for me and my mystery poet. So I wanted to go see Encanto. Wanna come with me and grab a drink after? He wondered. Virgil fidgeted. You don't have to. Like, I consider it my good deed of the day, so he mumbled awkwardly. Is that your way of saying you didn't want to go see it with me? Roman pressed. Virgil bit his lip and then nodded. Sure, why not? Why not indeed? Roman and Virgil had a blast watching the movie and singing the songs on the way to the cafe. There Roman learned more about Virgil's research, and apparently he was currently learning about the hanky code, and when Roman mentioned his brother would be a fan, Virgil agreed. Turns out the two were friends back in high school. Virgil nor Roman had heard much of him over a year. Happens when a guy goes almost completely off the grid for a journey around the world. He was still alive a month ago. Apparently, he and his travel buddy finally hooked up. Roman joked about that being Remus's strategy all along. Virgil confirmed that Janice had indeed once said he wouldn't date Remus if he was the last guy on Earth. Remus apparently took that as a challenge. Both Virgil and Roman were glad that the chaotic twin, had not actually massacred the entire male population and instead isolated the both of them for 14 months now. No, that was an exaggeration. They talked some more and reminisced on high school, and talking about it with Virgil, Roman started to see their rivalry in a different light, though Virgil admitted he was often very rude and kind of a jerk back in the day, especially when he was having a bad day. And apparently, Virgil's boss had called Roman Billy as an obscure reference to William Shakespeare, because Virgil had mentioned Roman talked as if he'd escaped from one of those plays. All in all, he was glad he'd decided to give Virgil a shot. It had been getting hard to make him out to be the villain. Villains don't tip this good, nor do they compliment you when you beat them. Accidentally psychoanalyzed him and deduced that considering the stress he was under, he needed an outlet and the familiarity of their rivalry was something safe he could use to both ground himself and vent his frustrations. He apologized, but Roman didn't mind. And so the two started hanging out outside of work and secret note writer related things. Movie nights, communal scram sessions, practice audience, all that good stuff. Also, apparently, Virgil drew very nice art and made the window displays Roman loved so much. How wild was that? The notes kept coming though, and with dried flowers with a translation that was up to Virgil to interpret and for Roman to deduce further using the poems. And after which he carefully put them in a photo album so they wouldn't get damaged after the work that went into them. Some basil before a big performance to wish him good luck by example. Goldenrod for good luck and encouragement when he auditioned for the lead for his final great play. Gladiolus to celebrate his victory when he got the part. He occasionally theorized to Virgil who it might be. Obviously, it was someone who knew him, at least on an acquaintance level, if they knew of his auditions and such, which narrowed it down to people he knew and excluded random person who visited the coffee shop sometimes and saw him look at the window display. Virgil did not hint at anything. And the messages became less casual and more cute compliments. A white camella apparently informed him that he was adorable, which was sweet but also made him flush hearing Virgil say that about him, even it was not really directly a compliment from him. Though he followed it up with, now they are just stating facts, which flustered Roman even more. Carnations alerted him to his mystery fan's fascination with him. Clementis apparently meant that this person knew him well enough to tell him he was a beautiful person, as in his personality was beautiful to him. Then, after he'd been in a stellar mood for about a week due to various things going right in his life, a yellow tulip told him that he had sunshine in his smile. And then came the Kala Ili. Well, either they think you are pretty or that you are hot. Does the note hint at which one it is? Virgil wondered. Woman read the note and blushed. I think pretty, he offered as he took the note away that described his face in too much detail for it to be someone who hadn't gotten close to him, which still left a lot of candidates that didn't know him for real. He was an actor. He had scenes with co-stars and understudies galore. Not to mention he'd been face to face with plenty of people on a daily basis. It could still be a regular at the shop who just happened to be at the college as well. He trusted that it was nothing creepy. Virgil would have his back if it was. This seems more flirty than the previous ones, though, he mused. Virgil nodded. Guess so. But no love confession yet. They might just feel like saying you looked cute today, he offered. Woman nodded. He could be right. The thing was, well, he was definitely very flattered by the notes and everything, and he got the idea that he could really like this mystery person. He was starting to fall for the less unknown individual in front of him. Of course, that was when the tone permanently shifted. Okay, so this is a whole bouquet. Are you ready? Virgil grinned, teasing lights in his eyes. It was not fair that he already knew exactly what all those flowers meant. As I'll ever be, woman allowed. Good. Virgil laid out the flowers in a certain order and then named them all left to right. Red columbine, blue salvia, savory, and red carnation. The first one sets the tone. It represents anxiety, so they are nervous, he explained, looking at Roman for his reaction. He's feeling pretty anxious himself right now. This might be what he'd been hoping for and simultaneously started to dread. The salvia means I think of you, and savory indicates interest. So they are interested in you. We knew that already. But that last flower, that is what changes the meaning. Red carnation indicates an aching heart. I think this is them alluding to romantic feelings they are not ready to fully confront yet, but are getting very tough to ignore. That's my interpretation. What does the note say? Did I get it right? Virgil was so excited for him. Woman really wished he was a little reluctant about it. Woman opened the note and read silently. Sadly, no words can make it clearer to you. I am uncertain what to do, but I have to let you know what is true. I'm not good at this. It is still new. Woman's heart broke. You don't look as excited as I thought you'd be. You've been sighing about how great a secret admirer would be for months. Don't you like them anymore? Virgil asked, concerned. No, no, it's more complicated. I just, what if, what if they are someone I'm not interested in? What if they are female? What if they are male, but I meet them and it just doesn't click the way they want it to? They have put so much into this. What if I disappoint them? He exclaimed, leaving out the what if I'm crushing on someone else bit. Hey, that's fine. I can pass that concern on for you. I'm sure they'll appreciate you worrying about them like that, he offered. What would I do without you? Roman sighed appreciatively, his own heart aching too. Be late for practice? Virgil chuckled. Roman, shut up. Shoot! Thanks for letting me know. I'll see you tomorrow. The notes returned without flowers now. Just encouragements and kind words to brighten his day once more. Both he and Virgil worked hard in preparation for their graduation. It just so happened that Virgil had to defend his final thesis, which was awesome by the way, in the morning, while Roman's final performance was that evening. And Roman was certain now. He had fallen for Virgil Collins, and really wanted to kiss him. He'd done some research of his own, and decided that he would give him a red tulip during their thank God that's over outing they planned the next day. It conveyed a passionate declaration of love. It fit him, and Virgil wouldn't need anything else. It was also not as cliche as the red rose, though that would definitely also fit the situation. When he went on stage, he immediately spotted Virgil in the crowd. Don't ask him how, but he saw him before he saw his parents that were sitting in the front row. Virgil was here. He said he would be, but it was still nice to see him. He was in his suit and tie too. Roman felt flattered that he hadn't gotten out of the monkey suit the second he could, and instead opted to look nice for Roman's big moment too. He killed it on stage, and when he got back to the dressing room, still dressed like a Victorian lord, he found the room empty, save for one person who leaned against his makeup station. That was one hell of a show, he grinned. Virgil, who let you back here? Roman asked, happily surprised. Pays to befriend the tech crew. They conspired with your cast to give us some time before it gets busy here, he said as he walked towards him. I have two things to give you, and I hope you'll like them. I'd hate to be part of a bad side of your memory for today. Just know that you are under no pressure. This is just a statement of fact, and you don't owe anyone anything, okay? He said, sounding nervous. Roman nodded slowly. Virgil handed him an envelope. This is the last one, I'm guessing, he said softly. Roman deflated a little. He'd hoped for a moment. He pushed down the disappointment and looked inside. A note and a small cluster of tiny pinkish flowers. Roman's eyes scanned the note. I know you like Shakespearean romance and lavish tones, but standing here before you gives me jello instead of bones. This flower is valerian, a mean to convey readiness. So look up and let me tell you what has me in such distress. Roman frowned and looked up, and Virgil was holding a red flower Roman recognized from his own research. A chrysanthemum. Um, so I should tell you I wrote those notes now too, huh? Um, this this one means I love you too, Roman blurted out. Virgil's eyes widened. Really? He asked breathlessly. I've got a red tulip at home for you if that would make you believe it. Roman grinned shakily as the reality started to sink in. Virgil chuckled and shook his head. Always so dramatic, he said. Would you love me if I wasn't? Roman teased. Virgil rolled his eyes. Will you shut up and kiss me? He challenged, and Roman never backed down from a challenge.